is the Bill Squire Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Bill Squire Show. I am your host, Bill Squire.
Bill Squire,
and I'm here with Tom Papa.
Yes, indeed.
We are in the green room. We got the green room back.
I know.
That's kind of you have a bit about, thank you, COVID. This is a thank you, COVID thing where usually when we're here, this has been taken over by all the
burlesque
drag shows and burlesque shows that are going on out there.
Mm-hmm.
But now that they're not doing this, we get to have a green room again.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah, because I'm always holed up in that office.
That office, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is nice.
Mm-hmm.
And technically, you're not even supposed to be in here.
I know.
It's really just for me.
I know.
Where did they put you?
The office still.
Oh.
Yeah. But it's still,
It's still good.
Having your own space. Because if you were just in the office, then I'd have to just be out in
then you go outside.
Street, yeah. Just on the street doing nothing.
Thank you, COVID.
Yeah, thank you, COVID. So I get my own space, you get your own space, which is wonderful. Space is nice.
It is nice.
Yeah.
I know. There's space in the showroom. There's space in the hotel. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's kind of nice.
Yeah. Now, do you have, for all like the lockdown and stuff like that, is your place big enough that where you could all kind of go to your own corner of the house?
Yes. Yeah. We bought a place like 5 years ago, and it was like a little bigger than we even needed. But I was like, no, we should do it, and then like ride it out with the kids. We'll make money on it, for the future. And thank God we did, because it was my wife will sometimes come back and be like, these people are in the park and they're just like, they have all these people around each other, and they're like having barbecues, and it's like there's a pandemic. They shouldn't be like that on top of each other. Like, yeah, but you cannot lose sight that so many people have like a whole family in like a 1-bedroom apartment.
Right, yeah.
And you're riding this out in like the tiny space. You forget, we always kind of tend to forget when, like here, like, oh, this is a green room. Like, this is so nice. You get used to whatever you're given. So we definitely lucked out that we can kind of like be,
because you were in New York before LA, and so New York would be probably the worst place to be, I think, because everything's so crammed in.
Yeah, yes and no though, because the beauty of New York is it's all crammed in. But even during a pandemic, you throw your mask on and go outside.
Yeah.
And there's just so much stimulus.
Yeah.
Not only just from the people in the rush of humanity, but even when it's a ghost town, you still are the streets and just. I always remarked in New York that walking this way on the street is a completely different experience than coming this way. Like it's so stimulating. So in that regard, it was like New York would give you a sense of being alive, and that element of it.
Yeah, I guess you're really positive about this whole thing. Is you're able to find all the good parts, because I was actually in New York auditioning for Live at Gotham when it was like the swine flu, and that didn't have the lockdown and stuff, but it was one of those things where you just felt like everybody was sick because they hyped it up on the news. So I my ex-wife at the time, or my wife at the time, booked us in a hotel that she thought was real cute, and it ended up being a room for one with like a shower down the, and she's like, it looks so cute on the website. I'm like, that's how they get you in.
Yeah,
that's why it only cost $80. We had money. We should have spent it.
There are a lot of people that have fled New York.
Yeah.
And I get that, because
where would you go if
different.
you had to leave LA, New York? Where's the place that you go that you could be like, all right, I can operate out of here and then just kind of exist? Like,
I don't know.
What part of the country?
I think everybody is doing that. Everybody now is re-examining their life and seeing what the options are. Because
Rogan goes to Austin, and I think there's a few other people that
Yeah, a lot of people went to Nashville.
Yeah.
I know people in upstate New York. Some people went to New England, and I don't. So I'm not really desiring it.
Yeah.
I like LA and I like New York and the New York area. It's like my fantasies go like, well, the Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
Like maybe we'll go down there.
Yeah.
Like that's as far as I allow myself to go. Like I love all these places. I love in my fantasy of like, well, Vermont. I love Minneapolis. I love like those kind of places. But the idea of like living there for an entire year. I'm not connected with these places enough for me to really jump
to really
in.
entertain the idea.
Yeah.
I just think of it in like a fun way. Obviously,
Yeah.
anywhere I go is moving up because I'm in Cleveland. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'd love to go to Denver, and then you're like, oh no,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. But I think a place I actually really like Phoenix. I think that's a real good city. It's all spread out, and then it's kind of like the opposite here, where in the summer you don't go outside, and here just the winter you don't go outside.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you go to pick a college or you go to pick an apartment, and you just know when you walk in, you're like, oh, this fits me for some reason. It's similar. Like, I think it would be kind of. I just go on my phone and go on Zillow.
Yeah.
Or like and just like go check out all these different places around the.
That's like a fun thing to do because I bought my condo last year, and so I still get like Zillow updates about stuff that I was looking at or stuff like that, and then I'll just like get sucked into the app, and you just be like, let's see what's going on here. Let's see what my friend paid for their house, and just like just judge people, and you're like, what can I do with this yard? And just living that Zillow fantasy can be very fun and a nice way to waste some time in a year where you have nothing but time to waste.
It's intoxicating. There's something so great about it. Mm-hmm. I like the Google Earth one too, where you pick up Copenhagen and that whole like taking you to space and then coming back down onto the globe and like dropping you in. That would be cool too. I could see, I mean, because when my kids go to school, I don't know if this is really accurate, but I feel like we're gonna have more freedom when they're gone. But they're not gone that long. They're gone for like 4 months at a time. But it would be a cool thing if we're not tied to some kind of gig where we could go to Rome and live in an Airbnb for rent our place and then go live in Rome for 4 months. Yeah. Like that would be cool. Like short spells.
That sounds like the best way to travel to me, because whenever people talk about going on a trip to like Europe or something like that, it's like half the battle is getting there, and then by the time you get to relax and be there, you have to leave again. And that's always one of those things where it's like, I would rather be able to just like, I don't want to have to go and see everything every day.
No.
I don't want to have I want to be able to kind of just breathe it in and have like that month-long, 2-month-long.
Those trips are exhausting. Yeah. They're just so much work. Yeah. And you come home, you're just beaten down. It's like, but if I could just get up and go have coffee and just chill and just, what are we doing today? Nothing. Just being around Italians.
Maybe we'll go do something.
Yeah.
Maybe we won't. We'll figure it out. That's my kind of vacation. I'm not like excursions vacation guy. I don't want to.
No, I know.
Getting someplace is always worse than whatever I do there. They'll be like, this is so fun. We get to go there and we go zip lining. I'm like, but the 45-minute drive there and back was awful, and I know. Wait, and then you got that family in front of you that sucks. It just
and the internet has kind of taken away the wonder of it all. It's like, so you plan a trip to Italy and you spend hours online going through all these things of the Colosseum and going through all of these museums, and you see more than you'll see when you're actually there. And there is something, of course, when you're there to experience it. But someone was asking me, like, why do you think people went to Niagara Falls for their honeymoon all the time? I was like, because they never saw it.
They never saw it.
Like, was it maybe in an encyclopedia or like someone sent them a postcard, but you drove up there and was like, what is it going to be? And there was this wonder, and like now it's all knowable.
Yeah.
So this is what the excuse I used to tell my family when they're like, we want to go to Paris. And I'm like, get on the internet. I'm staying home.
Paris, I love the idea of going to Paris, but I also, like, again, I feel like a week in Paris seems exhausting.
Yeah.
But like a month in Paris where you can just kind of just loaf around a little bit, that seems like the way to experience it.
Yeah.
Like if you're just there for a week and you're just getting used to the traffic and the
jet lag for 3 days.
The jet lag. Yeah,
I know.
Jet lag, that's terrible.
That is a thing that, when you think about how this virus spreads so quickly, it's like how insane that in like 60 years time, 50 years time, getting on a plane and showing up in Asia was like
impossible.
Not a big deal. Like you could just do it. Like people were globally just spreading all over the place.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that easy.
Right.
You know what I mean? It should be like a once in a lifetime trip that gets you over there.
Right. Not something that you're like, I found this on Groupon.
Right, exactly.
We're going to Thailand.
There was an intern on my radio show who's like traveling to Vietnam. He's got no money. He's got nothing. And he can go travel to Vietnam and hang around and eat, things he shouldn't eat and spread a virus.
That's I mean, it's good and it's bad, and it makes me think of like, yes, we have all these accessible things now.
Yeah.
But we don't appreciate them, and then we take them for granted when things like this happen. And so then I think this pandemic will be a nice reset for everybody.
Yeah.
To for the most people.
Maybe
there's going to be some people that are jerks all the time, but there's going to be a lot of people that will really appreciate things again.
I think
and then
so.
like when you start traveling, for recreation again, people are going to be nicer for a little while.
For a bit.
Yeah.
I think there's always those. I used to have a joke in my act about how crowded planes became, and it was like a time when it just was bursting, where it was feeling more like the bus.
Yeah.
And people were just showing up in like their underwear and just crowds, and they didn't travel, and they were just obnoxious, and it was like it used to be exclusive and expensive and tough to get on a plane was a big deal.
Yeah.
And the line in my act was, people say that flights are too expensive. I say, not expensive enough.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I know it's such an elitist thing, but it's like, just price some people. Not everybody has to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Not everybody has to. There's just the throngs of humanity doesn't
Bring
have to be in an airport.
The middle class, the upper middle class.
Yeah.
Let's get some strong lines.
And you work your ass off.
everybody.
You go to a restaurant on your birthday, and you take a trip every 5 years.
And then when you are the person that comes, you go, oh, we got to look like we fit in. And then
Right.
right now, if you want to look like you fit in, it's pajamas.
Yeah, you don't wear anything.
Yeah. So you've been doing comedy for a little while now, it seems like. Yeah, you're pretty good at it. I've been thinking about this all week, is like, I've known you as long as I've been doing comedy. Like,
Right.
I've known who you are, and I've been a fan. But what was the moment for you when you're like, I can do this? Not like I made it, but like, I can do this and make a living, and I'm like it doesn't even have to be like you've got a gig, but like a joke clicked the right way, or you just got a crowd going.
I mean, just none of the economics are working. Just like as a craft, like I can be a comedian. That was very early.
Yeah, like you're early in, and like you're
Yeah.
like, this is clicking already for me.
Yeah, that was very early.
Yeah.
That was the first set I ever did, was like Panic, and you got some laughs, but it was like kind of exciting. But then like within like a couple months, it was like I was able to, I had a couple bits where I knew I was able to kill with those.
Yeah.
And I was just getting a big response from the crowd. The jokes weren't, it was mostly energy. The jokes weren't, that clever, I'm sure. But at that point, you're like, oh, I can do this thing. Like, this is, I don't know where it's going to lead or how I'm going to, but this is what I'm going to do for sure.
Yeah, I remember being in a contest within like the first summer that I was doing comedy.
Yeah.
And there were people that, Jason Lawhead was in it, and like there's Ryan Dalton was hosting, like these guys around Cleveland that had been doing it for a little while. And I made it to the finals, and like I didn't win, but I was hanging with them.
Yeah.
And like some of them had like, they had been working as comics, and like that felt real good to me. And that's kind of where it's like, okay, I know how to construct a joke. I know how to deliver a joke. I'm pay attention enough that I'm like, okay, movement counts. Like everything counts when you're on stage. So
are you better than the other people there? That was like an early indicating thing, is like you want to beat everybody else.
Yeah.
And there were some around that were the same or a little better, but for the most part, you feel yourself kind of pulling away from the pack a little bit. Like that at least I'm killing more than those people are, so there must be something here.
Yeah. And I started getting booked to like work pretty quickly too, so like I always had like a pretty good work ethic because I didn't have any fallback plan. I didn't go to college or anything like that.
Right.
So
That's
it was
good.
just like get in there, do the thing, and then treat every show like it was, the most important show. And that's kind of one thing that came back during the pandemic is I'm not on stage as much anymore. So when I'm here doing shows, this is pretty much the only place I've been doing shows. You want to bring it, and it's nice.
I know. It's also been freeing. It's also been it kind of broke down old bad habits. Like it made all the shows special, but it also made it, for me, it gave me kind of a sense that you can do anything. Like, there's, when I was doing so many sets every week, you get kind of almost superstitious of like how you open, how you do it, what the set is, and you don't give yourself that room. And this kind of exploded everything, so it gave me a sense of freedom to be like,
I've noticed that with you this week.
Oh,
because you are a very meticulous, very, and I don't want to say like you're robotic about it, but I know like you have a process, you have a way of going through your act, and like even with your notes and everything that I've seen here, but I've seen there's been a lot more freedom and a lot more chances. Late show last night you took a little chance on.
It didn't work out so great.
I loved it. I was enjoying it quite a bit watching that's the thing too with these late shows. The last call's at 10, so everybody gets hammered.
Well, that's what they told me.
Yeah.
There was this woman in the middle of the showroom who was hammered.
Yeah.
Who was yelling the whole time.
Yeah.
And I haven't had that in so long.
Yeah.
I was like, ugh, I forgot how much I hated that.
Right.
And then they told me, and then there was more drunk people, and I was just playing with them and started talking football, and it kind of went off the rails. And
but that's a time for it to go off the rails, is when you're talking about football.
Yeah, and you're wrapping up.
Yeah, it's
like,
not
it was
like you
fine.
were getting political or like trying to, get your edgy material. You're talking about football and goofing
it was
around.
fine,
Yeah.
but I still hated it. I still went home in a bad mood. But they said that because the show starts at 9:30 and last call's at 10, they have to order their 4 drinks like immediately.
Yeah.
So they're just like lined up with all this
Bam,
booze
bam,
and
just put them down, and they've been pre-gaming. So that's it kind of has brought back the rowdy late show.
Yeah, I know.
Which
right.
is it's a little nostalgic for
yeah, it's cute,
us, but it's also not something you miss really.
Yeah, but I do feel like it also kind of reminded me, after this time, and then you come and people want to come see you. I always am hung on the jokes. I always think it's purely the material.
Yeah.
And what this kind of allowed me to entertain, and I think it's proven out, there's a big part of it is they just want to hang with you.
Yeah.
They just want to be in there.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like when I watch people, I like the in-between stuff just as much. Like to see how that act I love is drinking their water, or what they're thinking, or like what are they checking in their pocket, or like all those little things.
Yeah.
You forget
it's all part of
you're
the
on
experience.
stage, right?
Yeah.
And it's still part of the performance. And I would always think, no, this is just a dead spot in between more jokes. So let's hurry up and get to the next joke.
And you think of like some of the greats or some of your favorites, and like they all kind of have those little things. Like Brian Regan has like a little shoulder shrug he does,
Right?
Or like Carlin, like I feel like when he would wrap up, he'd kind of like throw his arm and be like, "That's
right, yeah.
that's the one," and then like move on to the next
Yeah.
thing. And like when Bill Burr's kind of reset, and he'll grab the mic stand and kind of lean back. So you just kind of those things are just as much as like.
You can just like be up there. I mean, you have to get to it, and I think there's kind of some people do it too much, and they're just kind of hanging out. Even specials you see, and you're like, it's been 10 minutes and there hasn't been a real joke. But you got to get to work.
Who was it?
But but you should allow. I should allow myself to be up there and just kind of enjoy being up there and being present. But that's also. The audience also dictates that sometimes too.
Yeah.
Like last night, if I hang out and during that drunk show,
they're gone.
They're all spinning out.
Yeah.
So you're almost using the material to just keep their
wrangle
infantile
like
attention focused.
Jangle keys.
Yeah.
And that's one thing too, is you kind of forget some of the fun parts of controlling a room. So when we hadn't been on stage for so long, you forget what it's like to go up there and change your pace and be like, okay, this crowd wants me to slow down a little bit. This crowd wants me to pick it up a little bit. They want a little more punch. They want a little and like kind of playing that room is something that you're very, very good at. And I love watching you build to the rolling laughs, because you aren't just like a one punchline and done guy. You hit them and then get them rolling, and watching you kind of dictate their reaction is so fun to watch.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that is fun. I mean, it is. That's why all these comedians that are coming on my radio show and talking about the Zoom shows or the drive-in movie theater shows, they're all so unhappy.
Yeah.
Because you're taking half of it out, which is the energy of these human beings. That is such a big thing, ebb and flow. And you're just now reciting material into a laptop or into a car windows.
Yeah.
It's not appealing to me in the least.
Right. Well, because when you're being silent to set something up that's going to hit, you're taking that pause. It feel like you have an excitement for when you're going to say it and get that reaction, get that energy, like you said. And when you're doing it at a drive-through or a Zoom show, you're just like, did it get disconnected? What's going on?
Yeah. No, it's the feeling of feeling those human beings in that. Like you walk in, you will for this next show. Once it's sat, you can walk in the door and you'll know if they're good or not immediately. There's an energy, there's a buzz in the room, or there's not.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that you can't change it if they're kind of a shitty energy and you can change it around.
Yeah, sometimes that's on me is to be like,
sometimes
kind of like whip them into shape and or take that bullet and go, all right, I see what you guys think this is, but that's not what it is. And that's for me being, in the host spot, in the middle spot sometimes, it's fun to do that.
Of course.
To like have that skill and be like, all right, you guys weren't laughing that much, but by the end of it, I got you going so that it's going to set it up for Tom or, whoever. And
or just
that's
playing
fun.
with the energy of it. I was thinking today, I was with my friend Dave Hill.
Oh, yeah, I love Dave.
And he plays music also, and we're sitting by the Playhouse Square where all the theaters are closed. And I was like, can you imagine when this is back, like when the vaccine is done and it's run its course and we're truly back where you can put 2,000 people into a theater? The shows are going to be insane.
Yeah.
Rock shows, any music,
the
theater.
Energy,
people are. I feel like it's going to explode. It's just going to completely explode.
Dream scenario. What would you like to see? And then we'll wrap this up. Like if your first show back, packed out, musician, comedian, Broadway play. What would be your dream scenario?
I know this sounds nerdy, but I was fantasizing about because I had gone to Disney Hall for the first time and saw symphony, like orchestra. Seeing that. Yeah. And I was really psyched to go see more of it. I'd seen it a lot in New York, but I was just like, forgot the impact of that huge orchestra of like really
that'd be great. I'm getting chills thinking of that because I go to Severance Hall here. Yeah. And that you can get all fancy, put on a tuxedo, and really do it up and just have like a nice, beautiful night, and
powerful.
Yeah,
powerful. That's what I want to. That's what I want to see more than anything.
Yeah, actually, the other
live sports.
Live sports, yes.
Baseball game. I want to walk back into Yankee Stadium.
I'm a big basketball guy, so like, just go and watch the Cavs lose by 30 would be amazing to me.
I know.
I can't wait.
I know. Just for the energy of all of that. Yeah.
Get a free T-shirt. The other person on this show this week is a classically trained musician. She plays French horn, but she's also so that would probably be a similar answer.
I know a French horn player too.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
This was great.
At Tom Papa on all his social media. He does Netflix is a Joke radio show that is on YouTube, and you can also listen on SiriusXM and check out his specials on Netflix. And that's that.
One more show.
Hey, everybody. I'm an idiot. I am here with Scarlett Chaton, who I just called Charlotte. I did another take, but I still have to call myself out and being stupid.
Okay, I see.
Right, that's how I do things. That's how you learn. If you have accountability for it. If they know I messed up, then I have to do better. So that's
hold
good.
you accountable.
Yes.
Sure.
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. There's been good things going on lately. This will air after, everything's more settled, hopefully.
Yeah.
But, yesterday Biden was not confirmed, but like declared the winner, which was nice.
Yes.
It was a very good day.
Yes, absolutely.
And today I've just been taking it easy. It's just been like a real brain shut off Sunday, which is why I already called my laptop a lap dance and called you the wrong name. So I guess I'm just a little out of it today.
And that's okay. Doesn't matter. It's Sunday.
Yeah, that's right. That's and I appreciate your and also my laptop's not working, so I'm like flustered by that.
Oh man.
So it's just like annoying, but
yeah,
I'll figure it all out. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk to you about what you do, and this is your second appearance already on the show.
It is.
And you wanted to come in studio, and I really appreciate that.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited that you were like, yeah, let's just do it. Right away.
I mean, you reached out and you're like, hey, I'm gonna be up in the area. Let's hang out. And I was like, yeah, get in here and let's do some podcasting, talk about dancing and music and whatever else you want. Did you have any questions about the stuff that you see behind me? My wonderful wall of crap.
It may show that the lack of knowledge I have about you, but all the shoes.
Yeah.
Got a lot of nice looking shoes.
Yes, I got a lot of shoes. I've been very into shoes. I've always enjoyed them, but I only in the past year and a half really started collecting them.
Oh wow.
And so
okay.
I've been doing a good job of wasting my money. But there's a lot here. I had these custom ones done, which I really enjoyed. My buddy Jim Tews is an artist and comedian and director. He's a super talented guy. And last year I had to get a bowl cut on the radio show. And he thought that was really funny, so he did a caricature version of me with a bowl cut. And
I see, yeah.
Yeah, so but then the other one's got like the title on it, and then I got my Boba Fett. Are you a Star Wars person at all?
I don't know well enough about it, but yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so without, getting too deep, like what's your favorite Star Wars?
Which movie?
Yeah, which movie? Put this right here so you're looking at me and then
You're
talking
gonna
to
embarrass me.
No, I'm not, because
I don't know them by the titles. I
You
know
don't?
mostly the music, honestly.
Okay, well, that's fine.
And Jar Jar Binks.
and Jar Jar Binks.
Yes.
Okay, well, you and my girlfriend both love Jar Jar Binks.
There you go.
A lot of people hate Jar Jar Binks, very controversial character. So the fact that you like him is, it might ruffle some of their feathers, but I'm already used to it because my girlfriend is a big Jar Jar fan.
Yeah.
Why do you like Jar Jar so much? Does it think
I just, when I first saw him, I was like, I really understand this, like tall and lanky, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you're a lot taller than I
vibe.
thought. You got some height on you. It's cool. I like
Imagine
it.
in 7-inch stripper heels.
Yeah, right?
Tower over most people.
Oh, that's kind of hot.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that is intimidating to some guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're like, I don't want this girl that's so much taller than me. They feel emasculated by the whole thing. I think
It
that's
works
strange.
out great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely get like that stare going.
Yeah.
And I'm not like as cutesy smiley, and they're like, oh fuck. Like
Yeah. That's nice. How long have you been doing are you back to doing that or you
no.
No, but
I actually
how long did you do it for?
Strip
Yeah.
club stripping was probably cumulative about a year, but
Okay.
it happened over the course of maybe 2-3 years.
Okay, so you kind of went in and out here
Yeah.
and there.
Yeah. Kind of filling the spots with the jobs and stuff.
Yeah, just to have a little income.
Yeah.
What's the best part of that job?
Money.
Money.
Yeah.
It's not a passion project. It is
Very
money.
close second is dancing to the music I love.
Yeah.
But money is absolutely the motivator for me.
Yeah.
So.
No, I get it. I have some good friends that are strippers and dancers and stuff like that, and they make great money. And
Yeah.
they, the key to it for them is, they're beautiful women, but they also are very good at the conversation part and like, kind of reeling them in and like playing on their fantasy or whatever it is.
Yeah,
And like,
for sure.
I'm impressed by that because it's like the, it's a not a hard sell, but it takes some patience and some understanding from you to be able to do that. And I'm like, man, I can't even stand like interacting with people after a show.
Yeah.
Like I just feel so awkward.
Yeah. And the thing that it kind of comes easy to me because the 2 clubs that I've danced at, I've really been the only girl that wants metal.
Yeah.
So I just immediately get all the songs that I want.
Oh,
and then
nice.
like as soon as I'm done, someone's usually standing there like ready for a
All right.
dance.
Top 3 go-to songs
For dancing?
for dancing.
Okay.
Stripping,
We've got,
and then we'll do burlesque.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We've got Horror by In This Moment.
Okay.
And then I also like dancing to Iggy Azalea. I know she's like a little controversial, but
Yeah,
the
but-
beats are really good.
Yeah.
So Work
Okay.
by Iggy Azalea. And then probably another, I'm trying to think of the Rob Zombie song that would come on a handful of times, but I'm blanking on titles. But anything Rob Zombie.
Okay.
I love Zombie.
Probably what's the like the most popular like White Zombie song? I can't remember what it is
Yeah.
either. I know what you're talking about though. I
Yeah.
can never remember what that song is called.
Yeah, because then like any of the older guys or anyone
They're
who's
like,
a metalhead, and they're like, "Oh my god, that!" And
That-
like I know
yeah.
the song so well, I can like do things like on the beat, and they're like,
Oh.
"Oh my god!" So
That's-
it's like a whole experience.
That's cool. Now you do burlesque as well. What are your favorite songs to dance for burlesque?
Okay,
'Cause it's more of
so-
it's a different kind of performance, and it's that there's costumes and all the stuff that goes into that versus you're just doing repetitive sets all night as a stripper.
Yeah. So probably my first one is my like breakout act, which is the first one I did as a professional, which is Burn by In This Moment.
Okay.
Very like visceral, emotional. The act is on YouTube if you look up Scarlett Chaton Burn or Scarlett Chaton Burlesque. But basically I start out princessy and then the lyrics change. It gets really heavy. It's like burn me alive, set me on fire, and watch me die.
Yeah.
And it's just like so much fun, and I love the way that I've created the costumes around it.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
That's probably number one.
So I imagine it goes from like you said, the princess thing to more of like a raw kind of angry.
Yes,
thing.
yeah, and there's a big reveal in there costume-wise that
Nice.
I don't want
You don't wanna
to
spoil.
spoil, so you
Oh.
got to go look me up on YouTube.
All right, well, definitely check that out.
Yeah.
It's called Burn. It's by Scarlett Chaton.
There we go.
Chaton. I can't spell it.
Yeah.
I can't spell it. I just,
And Scarlett's with 2 T's.
Yes.
So trying to be a little original.
So,
Second
Second one.
Partition by Beyonce.
Okay.
It's just sex. It is just raw,
Just raw
sexual energy. And
I love
it's-
how open and like how you just own your sexuality and stuff like that, because
you.
there's so many girls that I feel are so afraid to be sexual because they feel like it's makes them a slut or some sort of skank or something like that. And I think that's so like we're not in the Middle Ages anymore. We're not at pioneer times. Like own your sexuality. Like that's
yeah,
like
for sure.
we've seen women do this in pop music for so long. Why are you still looking at girls and being, oh, just wants attention. She just wants, like, no,
Yeah.
she wants to express her sexual urges, and that's fine.
Yeah, and where's the line drawn between like the stuff that you watch at home and like, ooh, that girl's so hot, to when she knows she's hot and it's a problem? Like, where does that
It's all
happen?
insecurity on the viewer's part a lot of the times. I feel like that's what it comes down to, where people will see this and they'll be uncomfortable, and people don't like to be uncomfortable, and they don't want to do anything on their own to change that feeling.
So they're challenged by someone else doing it.
So then when they go, oh, well, what you're doing makes me uncomfortable, so you have to change, not
Exactly.
the other way around.
Yeah.
Whereas what it should be is be like, oh, I'm uncomfortable with this. I should figure out why it makes me so uncomfortable and do some work on myself.
For sure. Yeah. And then the other thing about my partition act is it is the easiest costume.
Yeah.
Couple pairs of panties, got a corset and a robe and heels.
I love a corset.
And that's it. And it's slow reveals too.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Nice.
fun. That
What
one,
a tease. I love one of the best parts of burlesque is like the tease aspect of it, and like just that seduction and stuff. It's so great. And it's something that I feel like is lost in a lot of modern dating and stuff like that, because everybody's just like, hey, send me nudes, blah, blah. Like, nah, take your time.
Yeah.
Like, get me worked up. Make it like when I finally get what I want, it feels like so, like I've not earned it, but like you're rewarding me.
Yeah, for sure. And then number 3, I'm going to like hit like all the categories of my burlesque. First, we've got the metal burlesque. Second, we've got the super sexual, and then classic burlesque.
Okay.
Sing, 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 specifically part 2, pretty famous jazz standard.
Yeah.
I love that one. Sing, Sing, Sing part 1, I actually have conducted with a jazz band, and that was
cool.
so much fun. And then Sing, Sing, Sing part 2, I have done burlesque too.
Okay.
So.
So let's use this to go into, as a classically trained musician, as a conductor, what actually are you doing up there?
As a conductor?
Yes.
So basically,
So like someone like me, I like going to see classical music. I would go to Severance Hall and watch the Cleveland Orchestra. I like
I
it.
forgot we were in Cleveland. I was like,
Yeah.
Severance, that's way up there.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where I don't understand what's going on. I don't know the nuances of it. I just go, these people are good at what they do, and I enjoy it, and I just, and I'm always trying to learn more about it without actually doing any research on my own.
Yeah. So basically, depending on the age group or the talent group of the group that you are conducting, it can start from as basic as keeping time and cueing important parts, all the way to like top orchestras. They may just let the main parts happen and then just add these little bits. You want to just emphasize like that percussion hit
Yeah.
or something there, or someone's not quite bringing it out as much you want. You just pull up the intensity of the volume.
Okay. So, and the musicians are good enough that they can react to that in
Yes.
real time.
Yes.
And say, okay, he wants me or she wants me to be louder, softer, or pull back a little bit, or maybe even like cut this part out. So it's like a live DJ of real music.
Yes,
That's
definitely.
really cool.
And then the thing with orchestras,
Because I just, you just see them like
you
whipping their
watch
hair around.
the waving and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, they're waving and
Yeah.
it sounds great.
Yeah. Good job. Good waving.
Yeah, and if you distill it down to what are called chamber groups, which are typically groups of musicians between like 2 and 5 players, those types of smaller ensembles don't have any conductors. So what you have to figure out is you play as that small ensemble so often, so much together, you rehearse together, you really like strip the music down, find out what you want. There's ways for people to subtly move their bodies so they kind of conduct each other,
Okay.
or they
So
can
it's-
like feel what's about to
It's
happen.
similar to like really talented dance partners.
Yes,
So, like-
exactly. Like, you know, like if they like pull their arm just a little bit, you're gonna lead
You
a
go
little
this
bit more
way. Yeah.
further.
Yeah, so that's very, very cool. And
Yeah.
and even like a band, I would say, like my girlfriend's really into Fish. They kind of read each other's energy to see like, okay, how are we gonna handle this
Exactly.
song?
Yeah,
How we're gonna just let this groove play, or we're gonna transition to this song. And I think that's pretty cool. I appreciate that, especially in like in a live performance where you're reacting in real time and giving somebody a unique performance that is kind of just for that moment.
Yeah, and then that example of that chamber group that's very small. Once you get into the more talented, I feel like that kind of separates people. So maybe talented isn't the best word, but the more rehearsed and like higher level orchestras, that happens on the big scale of groups of 50 to 80 people.
That's insane.
And sometimes you can just play without the conductor.
Yeah.
Not that it's going to be the best, but like for example,
But sometimes it might work out.
Yes, yeah, because there's a way for everybody to communicate. Everyone has their leaders. Everyone has like who's watching who. So, for example, when I was in the Chicago Youth Orchestra playing French horn, there was this retreat that we like did a weekend and like did a bunch of intense rehearsals to start off the season. And our conductor was late one morning, and all of a sudden, I just see the first violin's bow go up, and we just start playing the first piece. And it was like it blew my mind, and everyone
That
was
everybody
just
was just
ready,
on
and it sounded
same
awesome.
page. That's
It was
cool.
Strauss Don Juan, which is a very like brilliant and quick beginning to a piece. So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I mean, we do that on the radio show where sometimes we'll all get into a groove and we're all riffing on something where that's very fun. But then also doing stand up when you're doing like crowd work and something will happen. And one that I recall specifically was it was Valentine's Day, I think 2018, and I was talking to these audience members, and like one of them was like a basket maker, and the other one was like a tattoo, like writer or something. Like it was like something to do with tattoos, but not a tattoo artist. But they had these really weird, obscure jobs, and in that moment, I was like, making the joke like, "Oh, you guys are the couple from House Hunters that's got this incredible budget." Where it's like, "Oh, we're looking for a house, $4.2 million. I make baskets on Etsy, and he writes about tattoos." Budget's $3.3 million.
Yeah.
And so like that was just like a nice moment that all like came together that I've, and there's a billion like that, but it's just one of those things where you're always happy when it goes right. And last night I was doing a show, and after the show I thought of a better thing to say, and that's it torments me.
Yeah.
Where there was a guy sitting in front, and he had like big, like long hair, but it was like all like nice and coiffed and everything like that. And I just kind of mentioned it, but like if I had gone back, I would have been like, "Oh, this is Steve from Stranger Things," and like I could have had some fun with that. But yeah,
but then you know to put that in your toolbox for next time.
yeah, you just gotta hope he shows up again.
I can make that joke 15 years later.
Yeah.
Like I'm really just holding on,
Yeah,
and I see him in
15
the
years
audience.
later. Like, hey, remember Stranger Things from 2018? We need
Oh yeah.
to get into it. So you also are you're a musician, you are a dancer, you do choreography too.
I do, yeah.
And so-
just for myself, I don't
Just for
teach
yourself,
any like
okay.
choreography classes or
Okay.
anything like that.
So
not regularly.
When you're figuring out the choreography for your different dances, how do you do it? Like what's that process like?
So basically for me, like I mentioned, like put that joke in your toolbox
Yeah.
for next time. That's what I do is I just try to absorb all of these different moves so I have them at my disposal. So really honestly, I just watch so many YouTube videos of other performers.
Okay.
And like the Burlesque Hall of Fame, it's a competition that happens every year except for this year. It was postponed and then canceled, which was probably a better
2020,
choice,
yeah.
but that gave them the chance to do a whole virtual festival.
Right.
But anyways, they have a whole they have years and years of acts on Vimeo, and those are like the best of the best and like incredibly unique and like high quality. So what I do is I think about all these different moves and then think about the music. Do I want this to be something that's moving fast, moving slow, contrasting with what I just did? Do I want to be on the floor? Do I want to be standing up? Am I going to have a chair in this act? If I do have a chair in this act, I need to use it enough to have it be there for a reason. So I
Yeah.
need to make sure that I include enough moves to be like,
So
okay.
a lot of thought goes into it.
Yes.
And a lot of planning. And a lot of people are just used to the finished product when it comes to things. But I'm always more interested in something or more engaged with something when I know the process.
Yeah,
So
for
anything
sure.
that's like burlesque or dance or, shows like Dancing with the Stars don't really do it for me because it's people that are really well trained in dance working with people that aren't really well, that are just, I don't know, it doesn't feel as authentic as someone like, hey, this is, a pure performance that I want to put on versus, like, oh, we got to do something kitschy to win over the crowd to win this competition.
Yeah. And then another thing with burlesque is there's, of course, more than 2 categories, but we always lift minors. There's a lot of people that'll do purely choreographed. And then there's people that'll do like mostly improvised. So
Okay.
they'll know their song and their costume, but they
Yeah.
kind of just wing it when they're up there. I love having it planned out because then I know exactly how intense a certain move is at a
Yeah.
certain point in the music, which is why I listen to my songs until I hate them.
Right.
So that I know every single little bit and what to bring out and what to focus on. Every once in a while, I've done a little bit of an improvisation, like Partition that I mentioned earlier. I end up doing a different ending every single time.
Oh.
And that's just like a fun
that's
little
kind of
thing for
exciting,
me
though.
to do. Yeah. And
And
it depends on like the venue. Like one of the places was a big stage. One of the places was like a small bar. And I just did like a up against the wall and slid down and everyone's like right there. So it gives me a lot of opportunity to just like try a little different new ending.
Well, that's very, very interesting. And again, makes me appreciate the art of it even more. And, just like, and it's similar, I guess, to classical music where you have these arrangements where you have, even if it's a piece that you've already played, you can arrange it differently and have people play different parts and stuff like that. And it's just very interesting to me to see how much you can tweak stuff and just make, one piece of art so many different ways.
Make it new every single time
Yeah.
you do it and just play around with it.
Yeah.
And
That's kind of, there's comics that are like that where they have the same topics they kind of talk about every time, but they just freestyle while they're going. They'll use the crowd to help them. And it's very interesting to watch something like that because you get a different show every single time. Whereas there's other comics that are like doing it exactly the same way every time. But that's also the meticulous planning of everything, the timing and all that goes into that is also very fun to watch. And then there's a lot of people that are the mix of those two
Yeah.
together. But it's just it's really, it just shows like the talent that people have and what goes into it. And just I appreciate it when I see someone doing that work versus a person that just, they have their one thing that they're good at and they just do that and kind of phone it in.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see that these common themes are across everything that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Classical music, burlesque, and comedy.
Yeah.
Anything that's like an arts and entertainment, you can still find those themes across all these things that
Yeah.
are so different.
Right.
And I feel like for me, that's part of the reason why, although I do miss French horn so much, it's such a big part of my life, I don't miss it quite as much as I would if I wasn't doing burlesque.
Oh, yeah.
And burlesque is my new artistic outlet. That's what I'm choosing to spend my time on right now. And I still get a similar fulfillment from performing and working on a piece of art.
And that's kind of how I've been, I used to do a lot more stand up, but right now it's not as easy to do it. And there's, the circumstances aren't always the safest. So I've really pulled back on that. So starting this podcast and having the radio show really helped me focus and have that creative energy outlet without making me feel like I've lost part of my life. Like, yes,
Yeah.
I want to do stand up more and I like doing stand up and it's very fun. But at the same time, it's also made me appreciate it more because when I go up and do it, I'm like, oh man, first I want to do this joke and I really want to like nail it and kill it. So it's good,
Yeah.
good times. So what are you doing right now?
Right now, well,
what's your life like? I know probably not too much dancing.
no, not right now. I actually got a new job.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to go into super specifics because I don't want to
it's
get
like-
fired
yeah.
for people knowing I'm a stripper, right away.
Yeah,
so
right, yeah.
let's make them wait. But it's something in the tech industry.
Oh, cool.
Totally new for me, but I'm loving it so far.
That's great.
So I've got that gig going on, giving me a little more.
So you
more
also know
live.
tech stuff?
Yes, a lot of it I'm learning on the fly.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, that's good. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
I'll be really smart about tech in like 3 or 4 months.
Okay, got it. Well, that's it shows that you have the ability to learn things. I'm always trying to learn as much as I can, whether it's the podcasting, the editing, all the different stuff.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have all those quivers, especially in this culture where you got to be able to do lots of things because
Yeah.
it's not just like, oh, I'm a plumber and I do plumbing and that's all.
It's harder
There
and
are
harder
plumbers
to do
that can do that, but I'm with what I do, I have to have a lot of different skills.
Yeah, and I was listening to Philip DeFranco, who's a news journalist on YouTube, and he tries not to identify as like a strict journalist, but I think he does a very good job on his news shows. And he was talking to, I believe, Andrew Yang about universal basic income.
Basic income, yeah.
And an interesting thing they were talking about, there's these people typically in trades and things like that where for so long they've been doing the same thing, but now if their world has been rocked by the pandemic,
Yeah.
it's hard to start new. If you like, universal basic income could allow somebody to go to new schooling, figure out a new career path, or just have enough time to get a new career. Whereas if people don't have that basic income, which is the reality of right now and probably will be the reality in the United States for a while,
Yeah.
is that you don't really have that buffer zone, which is why I was so scared. I had finally gotten to what I knew and what I loved, and then all of a sudden it's taken away from me.
you, yeah.
And now I'm like, I can go to something that's going to be like really unfulfilling and low paying, or I got to learn some new stuff and get a new career.
And that the universal basic income seems so far fetched to people, and they hear the big scary word socialism, and they think that that's such a bad thing, and they get it's being used by certain people to frighten you and be like, oh, you're going to be paying for all these people that aren't going to work, and I really don't think they understand that people do want to work. Like people do want to work, but they also don't want to work for nothing.
Yeah,
and they don't
exactly.
want to go into something that is, meaningless or and even like a minimum wage that's livable is what the minimum wage is supposed to be. And people are so like, no, minimum wage is for like kids in high school. And it's like, not anymore.
Yeah.
And it never really was.
Yeah,
It was-
people who didn't graduate college.
Yeah.
College doesn't mean the same thing anymore.
Right.
And it's a big money sink for a lot of people. I may
Yeah.
or may not have lots of loans that I'm still trying to figure out,
And the inability to look at other people's situations and have empathy or understanding for it is one of the reasons there's such a gap in this country where people just can't understand that other people have different problems than them.
Yeah,
And
other people doing better isn't going to make you do worse. It just
Right.
makes everyone
Yes.
be doing better.
Well, and there's a lot of systemic racism that goes into that too, where if a black person is doing better than me, it makes me, worse for whatever reason is how
Yeah.
some people feel, which is just mind-bogglingly
Yeah,
stupid.
bonkers. It's
Yeah. Anyway, before we get too political, things could get better. I don't know. I'm happy Biden won, but it's also like important to hold him to a high standard and do things.
And there's still so much more work
So,
to be done.
yeah.
But let it ourselves for a few days. This is the Sunday after the election. It was just like unofficially called a couple days ago. Let's all have a couple days to feel relieved and know that
and
like women and African American people and people of color and anyone in marginalized communities right now can go to bed a little bit easier.
And that's another thing too. And where people don't understand the marginalized communities. My son is transgender, born a girl, lives as a boy now, 18 years old. He came out to us 6 years ago.
Okay.
And we've done everything we can to help him. And he's got friends that are going through similar things, and the other parents are just, some are doing a really good job and some aren't. And I'm not here to judge them, but also like when I share the story with people, I have to really explain to them why it was so important, because they really like, oh, he wanted to wear different clothes or what is it? Like, it's so much more than that. Like like his, and in the show The Cabin with Bert Kreischer had a really great moment with Caitlyn Jenner where she asked Bert Kreischer and Nikki Glaser, like, when did you know you were a boy or a girl? Mm-hmm. And neither of them really had an answer for it. And Bert made it about sexuality, and Nikki just was like, I right now, like right now is my answer because I never really had to think about it. Mm-hmm. And so then Caitlyn explains to Bert, first of all, that like your gender identity is not tied to your sexuality at all. Mm-hmm. And it was like such a nice moment for him to like come to that understanding, because so many people are avoidant of it because it makes them so uncomfortable that they go, oh, here's some topic that I don't really understand, and I'm not willing to take the time to lean into it and be uncomfortable for a little while so I can understand. So I'll just be like, nah, they're weird, or do what you want, but don't bother me, that kind of thing.
Push it away so you don't have to challenge your own beliefs.
Right. And I applaud anybody that takes the time to look at things from someone else's point of view, to have that empathy, to have that understanding, and want to be better.
Yeah.
Because it does take some work. And, you know, even people that, like, you know, after Trump lost, there's a guy that was like, oh, well, I don't like Biden because he's going to come try and take my guns. And I'm like, but why do you want your guns so much? Yeah. Why do you need your guns so much? And he has this whole like comment thread that he was explaining the importance of the Second Amendment, blah, blah, blah. And like how basically he's saying, yeah, they should have stricter rules on it. I'm like, yeah, well, I agree with you on that. And then like one of the reasons he needs his gun is so he can do target shooting and like compete in competitions. I'm like, you're willing to put other people's lives at risk so you can play games? Yeah. Like that's so selfish to me.
Yeah. And also the Second Amendment happened like 300 years ago or something.
Right, exactly. Like very different guns.
The things that we have now in the context of society we have now, you just cannot apply that anymore. Right. Maybe the basic principle and the idea.
Yeah.
But no, it's got to be updated, too different.
And you have to have that kind of understanding where you don't get to say, oh, I need this AR-15 with a bump stock to protect my family, when you don't.
Yeah.
If you want a weapon to protect your family, that's fine, but you don't need it to be anything this ridiculous. And then, but the competition thing really blows my mind, where it's like, imagine going to a place where there were people that were in a mass shooting, the concert in LA, many schools, all these movie theaters, any of these, and then telling the person that lived through that saw somebody get murdered, say, well, I know you were in a scary situation, but on Saturdays, I like to go and do target practice.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing anything wrong, but I like the power that it makes me feel powerful when I have these guns in my hand.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's so selfish. Get a bow and arrow. Get a Nerf gun. Play darts. You're fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And again, when you got the gun, like they never want to admit that what it really comes down to is they're scared, and it makes them feel powerful because they feel, because a lot of them are these macho guys that don't know how to actually express their fears or angst or anything like that. So they just say, it's me against them, and I need to be prepared. And the only way you can be prepared is by killing them.
Yeah.
Not trying to understand them.
You know, the last like 5 minutes have been a strange like head zone for me, because in the last week I've been meeting a lot of new coworkers who have had very different views from everything you just said.
Yeah.
And I very much agree with you. So I've been in the mode for the last 5 days of like, oh, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. So I'm like hesitant to like speak my opinions, but no, we're on the podcast. I completely agree with you. Yeah. And it's really nice to have, I mean, specifically a man saying these things to me, as opposed to the multiple people that have been talking to me in the last few days. And I'm just sitting there uncomfortably like, I really don't agree with you, but this is going to be weird if I tell you I don't agree with you. So,
one of the ways that I like to disarm that kind of situation is by kind of agreeing with them, but not really.
Yeah.
Like where you go, you say, okay, I see where you're coming from. And then you kind of sow some sort of like seed of doubt, or, put them in this situation, be like, but I think of the kids getting killed, and it's just not that, And it's, or I'm not that scared.
Yeah.
I'm not scared enough to need a gun.
Yeah. My mode of thinking in these types of situations
And
is
then-
I like to take it and just kind of swim the other way. Like, as a stripper,
Yeah.
you meet all sorts of people. They like to tell you what they like because they're in a place where they're like seeing, women they like and
Yeah.
having a good time. And I've gotten very good at just like, oh yeah, yeah. And also like, well, let's steer over here.
Okay, yeah. So that's like turning away from it. But I like, but sowing that doubt into their mind is always kind
Yeah,
of
if you
fun.
have the
you have
opportunity.
that opportunity to be like, to make them feel like, oh, the reason. Oh, but yeah, I get you like guns because you're really scared. Like scared. You're really scared, and I get that.
Make them face
you're,
that.
You're really you're not strong enough to face the world without a gun.
Oh man,
Their
yeah.
masculinity is so fragile, and it's one of my favorite things when I see someone really get broken down by it by simple questions where they think that being macho and being like aggressive is strength when a lot of times it's just fear and like trying to attack instead of react.
Yeah, and it's funny how that ties to the beginning of us talking today, challenging your beliefs when it comes to sex workers. Hey, look at full circle.
Bring it all full circle.
Yes.
This is Scarlett Chaton.
There you go.
Thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah.
Follow her on Instagram. And it's challenge yourself. Be a better person. Learn some things. Appreciate art. It all helps. It all makes you, feel better.
Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Get out of your bubble. You know, not your COVID bubble, but like your personal.
I mean, for now, stay in your COVID bubble.
Stay
It's
in
still
the
very
COVID
much
bubble.
a problem and cases are rising still.
Yes.
So be careful, wear your
An alarming
masks.
rate.
And masks aren't stupid. They're just to help people not die.
We CGI'd this. We're not actually in the same room. So thank you so much for coming by.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. I had
Do you
a lot
want to
of
be the
fun.
Instagram hottie again too?
Yeah,
All right,
I'm
cool.
just-
We'll get a picture of her, and she'll be the Instagram hottie this week. And that's that. Thank you for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Follow Scarlett on Instagram, and see you guys later.
Okay.
This is the Bill Squire Show.